Okay, it's all up to this. Abra, I need you to not get crit, please. Can I beat a Pokemon Diamond Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Pokemon whose names start with the letter A? Well, let's find out. My name is PomminPs, or P for short, and we're gonna need some luck on our side. In a Hardcore Nuzlocke, once a Pokemon faints, it's dead forever, you can't use healing items in battle, and you can only use the first eligible encounter on each route or named area. The rest of the rules are on screen now, but with that out of the way, let's jump right into it. Just for transparency, I do use rare candies in all my runs just to speed up grinding. We name ourselves P and start our journey in Twin Leaf Town, where our rival Barry rushes out of his house to tell us something important. Did you know that only 18% of you guys are subscribed to my channel? Wait, were you talking? Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next upload. Wait, Barry, there's no one here. Are you okay? Did you stop taking your med? That was so stupid. We grabbed Turtwig as our starter, but we can't use him anyway, so it's not important. Our first encounter comes on Route 203 in the form of an Abra, who I name Anthony. Abra only learns teleport by level up, but with help from the TM hidden power in the trainer school, Anthony can put that base 105 special attack to use. For full transparency, I did soft reset this encounter until I got an Abra with the hidden power ice. This is like a similar thing that I did in my Pokemon U only run. Check that out if you haven't already. I got some comments about how I should have just full reset, but that would just be me mashing A through the tutorial again to throw a Pokeball, and that seemed really boring. So here we are, Ice type hidden power Abra. Everyone all good? Great. Abra's base 90 speed is pretty solid as well, but that base 15 defense is gonna hurt us. So we started EV training right away in defense, which should help us survive this first gym. I'm not going to do the math now because that's boring, but I was able to get about 25 defense EVs before the first gym fight. It's not a lot, but it will make a difference. After doing all the training we can do, we challenge Rourke and his rock types. Rourke leads with Geodude and I lead with Anthony. We outspeed and a single super effective hidden power KOs. Anthony levels up to level 15, which is allowed in my rule set, and Rourke's ace, Cranidos, comes out second. A hidden power ice does slightly less than half, as a headbutt does, holy sh**. One more hidden power just misses the KO, but since Rourke is clearly Byron's son, he goes for Leer instead of getting the KO. From there, Rourke tries to heal, but it doesn't matter, as two more hidden power ice KO Cranidos. Rourke still has one more Pokemon, an Onix. So one more hidden power KOs it too, taking down Rourke's third and final Pokemon. We've officially beaten our first gym of the run and gotten the Coal Badge in the process. Now that we've got our first gym badge, we can head to Route 204 to arrive in Floroma Town. Team Galactic is stealing power or something, I don't know. But we've got to take down Commander Mars, which is a notoriously super difficult fight in Nuzlocke. Thankfully, we do have access to another encounter before the fight. We save this lovely gardener man, and he gives us some honey that we can slather on the trees, which I'm almost certain the Department of Agriculture does not recommend. It does give us our next encounter, an Apom named Andy. As you can tell from the thumbnail, I love Apom, even though this amazing design is ruined by whatever this is. Andy is still going to be immediately crucial for our run as we head to take on Commander Mars at Valley Windworks. Mars leads with Zubat and I lead with Anthony. Since Zubat is part flying type, a super effective hidden power is enough to take it down. Second out is her Perugly, which has really solid stats for this point in the game. Thanks to Inner Focus, Anthony can fire off a hidden power for about a quarter. A super effective feint attack will definitely destroy us, so I swap into Andy in his debut, who takes a scratch for about 10 damage. Anthony takes another scratch and then gets a solid 3-hit Fury Swipes, causing Perugly's Citrus Berry to activate. A feint attack brings Andy into the yellow, but we get another solid 4-hit Fury Swipes to bring Mars's ace into the red. So after taking one more scratch, Andy fires off a scratch of his own for the KO. That wins us the battle and gets us through our first major roadblock. With Mars defeated, we can go meet up with Cheryl at the Eterna Forest and escort her through like the gentlemen we are. We arrive in Eterna City, where we can take on our second gym battle of the run. Her team isn't too scary, but with only Anthony and Andy, we could still have some trouble with the Roserade, whose fully evolved stats tower over ours in the first stage. We head into the gym and take on Gardenia and her grass types. She leads with Cherubi and I lead with Anthony. A hidden power ice leaves Cherubi in the red, and it thankfully just sets up a safeguard. Two more hidden powers can KO after Gardenia wastes some time healing. Second up is the starter that we chose, Turtwig. Anthony just barely misses the KO again, as another hidden power ice leaves Turtwig in the red. Gardenia pulls the exact same stunt again using a setup move in Reflect, and then wasting my time trying to heal. Last up is her ace, Roserade. Our hidden power does just less than half, as a Grass Knot in retaliation does about the same amount. I am risking a crit here, but I can't swap into Andy with a Reflect having physical damage right now. A Grass Knot comes in and thankfully doesn't crit. We can finish off Roserade with one more hidden power, taking down Gardenia's third and final Pokemon. With that, we've won the Forest Badge and beaten the Eterna City Gym. Our ragtag duo of Anthony and Andy have 2 badges under their belt, and the map of Sinnoh opens up a little bit. We dodge our way through Cycling Road, get approached by a stranger who's trying to sell us Pokemon Genocide? What? And arrive in Hearthome City, home of the not third gym. Even though Maylene and Crasher Wake have the same level cap, neither are here, so we'll be coming back later. We do get to see our mom reliving her glory days though, which is awesome. You go, Mom. Love you. To beat our next challenge, we need to hit the lottery. No, not this one. This one. To stand a chance moving forward, we need to first catch a Marill, which isn't guaranteed. Okay, great. Now, second, we need it to have huge power. Thank God. Abby evolves into an Azumarill right away, and it's time for the gym leader speedrun. We take on Crasher Wake and Maylene back to back with the same level cap of 30, then Fantina at level 36 back in Hearthome, and last we take on Byron at 39 in Candice City. So, here's the plan. Step 1. Give Anthony and Abby some firepower. Anthony and Abby need to take on a leader essentially by themselves. So Anthony gets Grass Knot for Quagsire and Shockwave for Gyarados and Floatzel, as Abby gets Dig for Lucario. Step 2. Do the math. To make everything work out, we need some EV investment. Anthony is getting around 60 special attack EVs from Badoo, 200 speed from Starly, and 100 defense from Kricketot, all of which can be found in the early routes of the game at level 2 or 3 for less than 100 XP each. Abby needs a little less help since Huge Power is doing some heavy lifting, but Abby does get around 90 attack from Shinx and 60 speed. With this setup, I think we've got a shot. We head to Pastoria City to start our gauntlet by taking on Crasher Wake. Wake leads with Gyarados and I lead with Anthony. Now, Anthony is holding a Zap Plate, which boosts electric moves by 20%. The boost gives us just enough to one-shot KO Gyarados. That gives Anthony enough XP to level up to 31, now able to outspeed Floatzel. With my defense EVs, there should be 0 rolls that can kill Anthony without a crit. 1 HP again. Since we outspeed, a couple more shockwaves after a super potion get the KO, leaving Crasher Wake with only 1 more Pokemon. Quagsire comes out last, and since this cute boy is kinda chunky and 4 times weak to grass, a single Grass Knot is enough to KO. We've earned the Fen Badge and beaten the Pastoria City Gym. Our first part of our plan went great, so let's go nail the second half too, against Maylene and her fighting types. Maylene leads Meditite and I lead Abby. After stalling a turn with Detect, Abby can cleanly KO Meditite with an unnecessary critical hit 102 base power max friendship return. Second up for Maylene is Machoke. Our return does just over half as a Brick Break does about a third. One more return finishes off Machoke, Lucario comes out third. A Metal Claw does basically nothing and doesn't get an attack boost as Abby goes underground with a Dig. A Metal Claw misses as a Dig connects and cleanly KOs Maylene's ace. That wins us the Cobble Badge and a victory at the Veilstone City Gym. Now that our math test has got a perfect grade, we can backtrack to Hearthome City to crush the soul of my mom's idol. But before that, Andy evolves into a Ambipom. Contest champion and gym leader Fantina is next on the list as we head to take her on and her ghost types. Fantina leads with Drifblim and I lead with Anthony. This time, he's holding a Choice Specs, which boosts special moves by 50%. A Choice Spec Shadow Ball is enough to KO Fantina's lead Pokemon. Second out is her ace, Miss Magius. I swap into Andy, but instead of being immune to a ghost move, a Magical Leaf does about a third. Now, Andy learns Fling by level up. Fling is a dark type move, which changes base power based on the item the user is holding as it flings the item at the opponent. By holding a skull fossil from the underground, a 100 base power super effective fling from Andy can cleanly KO Miss Magius. Fantina's last Pokemon, Gengar, comes in third. Without fling, Andy literally can't do anything to Gengar, so I swap into Abby on a spite that fails. Abby takes a poison jab for about a quarter as she sets up an Aqua Ring for some small recovery every turn. After misclicking return once and then doing it again after spamming A to skip, I finally put my brain cells together and swap into Anthony on a poison jab that leaves him with 15 HP. Thankfully, with the combination of speed EVs from Crasher Wake and the choice specs, he can outspeed and KO with a single Shadow Ball. With that, we've taken down Fantina, won the Relic Badge, and we are officially halfway through our gym challenge. With access to Surf, we can head straight to Canalave City. On the way, Anthony evolves into an Alakazam. We roll Barry in a battle on the bridge since he doesn't have an evolved Pokemon at this point in the game in Diamond. As a heads up, I am going to continue to ignore his existence for the rest of the video. I could head to Iron Island, but that sucks. So I'm going to take on the easiest gym leader in Sinnoh. Byron leads with Bronzor and I lead with Anthony. A Choice Specs boosted Shadow Ball does about 3/4 as a Hypnosis misses, which always feels so good. One more Shadow Ball KOs Byron's lead. Second out is Steelix. I swap into Abby, who takes almost nothing from a Gyro Ball on the swap. Wait, is it Gyro or Gyro? Or is it like Euro, like the food? Yeah, guys, you know what, guys? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to go with Gyro. Anyways, while I was subtly begging for comments, I swapped back into Anthony and KO'd with a Grass Knot. Last up is Byron's ace, Bastiodon. I swap into Andy on a Flash Cannon for a third. He uses a Tickle to lower its attack and defense by 1 stage each, as another Flash Cannon brings Andy into the yellow. I swap into Abby now, as Bastion's amazing AI decides to try to use Rest, even though it's at full HP. I set up an Aqua Ring as a Flash Cannon does basically nothing. From there, Abby uses a Dig which cleanly KOs Byron's ace. That wins us the battle, the Mind Badge, and the TM for Flash Cannon. Now that we're done with our Gym Leader speedrun, it's time for a Team Galactic Commander speedrun. Somehow they caused an earthquake, but thankfully everything inside and everything outside seems fine. Maybe they just had a really loud speaker and it tricked us. I have to head to every lake and take down the commanders, so we beat up on Saturn and beat up on Mars, before making the trek through Route 216 towards Snow Point City. Along the way, we do get our last team member, a Snover named Antonio. Antonio can evolve right away into an Abomasnow, which is going to be great later for our battle against She Who Must Not Be Named and her pseudo-legendary that must not be named. To go save Barry, we need the 7th gym badge, which we can get from taking on Candice and her ice types. Candice leads with Snover and I lead with Andy. Since he has the ability Technician, which boosts the base power of moves 60% and under, Aerial Ace is essentially a 90 base power move, so it can knock out Snover in one shot. Second up for Candice is Metacham. I swap to Anthony on an Ice Punch that does just less than half. A Choice Specs boosted super effective Shadow Ball takes down this ice type in one shot. Third up for Candice is Sneasel. Expecting a super effective Feint attack, I swap into Andy, who takes it fairly well for about a third. Andy can actually outspeed Sneasel here, and uses a 4-time super effective Brick Break for the KO. Candice is down to one last Pokemon, her ace, Abomasnow. I stay in with Andy and hit a boosted Aerial Ace that does over half, and activates its Citrus Berry. Abomasnow does retaliate with a Swagger, confusing Andy and forcing us to switch. I decide to swap into Antonio for the mirror matchup. A Wood Hammer does less than half, but that's way more than I was expecting it to do. Another Wood Hammer brings Antonio to 40 HP, but a perfectly accurate Blizzard in the Hail KOs Candice's ace. That's our 7th gym battle victory, and we take home the Icicle badge as our prize. With access to Rock Climb, we can go console Barry after his loss to Jupiter. It's just not fair. She had a skunk I guess I need to restore his honor or whatever, so I head to the Galactic HQ to beat up on Cyrus. Once that's all done, we need to head to Spear Pillar to save the entire world. If you think that's scary, then you should be terrified thinking about your internet privacy. That's right, guys, this video is no, it's not. Why am I even doing this? Look at yourself. Look at the stock photo of Amir. Look at you. What are you doing with your life? The real terrifying part about heading to Spear Pillar is the double battle with Mars and Jupiter, and the battle with Cyrus right after. The double battle shouldn't be that hard, but Barry is actually a worthless baby, and he's just dragging us down. We walk up to take on Mars and Jupiter in a battle for Barry's honor. Mars and Jupiter both lead Bronzor, and Barry and I lead Munchlax and Anthony respectively. A Shadow Ball doesn't quite finish off Mars's Bronzor, as they both use Gyro Balls into Anthony for just less than half. Munchlax uses a Screech onto Jupiter's Bronzor, but I guess I can't complain about that. One more Shadow Ball KOs Mars's lead, as Munchlax tanks an extra sensory and uses a stockpile to boost its defenses. Golbat comes out for Mars, and with super effective bite into Anthony, I've got to swap. I bring in Abby, who takes a bite and a Rock Slide for pretty light damage, as Munchlax just uses Swallow. Great. An Aqua Tail just misses the KO on Golbat, as Abby tanks an extra sensory from Bronzor. Golbat uses a Poison Fang onto Munchlax, who just uses another Screech onto Bronzor. A Poison Fang does some more light damage onto Abby, as a return finishes off Mars's second Pokemon. Bronzor sets up a Reflect, as Munchlax used another Screech. Thanks Barry, you should try doing some damage. Purugly is last for Mars. A Slash from Purugly almost kills Munchlax, but of course I'm not that lucky, as an Aqua Tail does a bit over half into Mars's ace. A Rock Slide does some more light damage, as Munchlax just uses Stockpile again. A Slash finally KOs Munchlax, giving Abby the chance to KO Purugly with another Aqua Tail. Now that Mars is out of the fight, it's a 2-on-1, which is basically a guaranteed win even with Barry as my teammate. I'll fast forward to the Cyrus fight now, which Barry does heal us before we take on. Cyrus leads Honchkrow, and I lead Anthony again. A Shockwave KOs the Fancy Bird in one shot. Second up for Cyrus is Weavile, who evolved in the 10 minutes since I last battled him. I swap into Andy. Weavile went for Brick Break for some reason, and it almost KOs Andy, but thankfully there was no crit. I can't KO this now, so I have to swap into Abby on an X-Scissor. A Brick Break brings Abby into the yellow, as an Aqua Tail brings Weavile low and activates its Citrus Berry. Since Cyrus only has Super Potions for some reason in this game, the healing isn't enough to prevent another Aqua Tail from connecting and KOing his second Pokemon. Third up is Gyarados. I swap back into Anthony, as Gyarados just misses a Giga Impact. We replicate the strategy from Crasher Wake and one-shot KO Gyarados with a 4-time super effective Shockwave. Last up for Cyrus is his ace, Crobat. Since Choice Specs locked me into Shockwave, I have to swap to Antonio to change moves. For some reason, Crobat goes for Cross Poison instead of a super effective Dark move, which almost KOs Antonio just like with Anthony before. I go back into Anthony on another Cross Poison, and then I can cleanly KO with a Stab super effective Choice Specs boosted Psychic. That's Cyrus defeated and the Spear Pillar Gauntlet finished. After becoming the literal world champion, we can get back to our real job, collecting gym badges. We arrive in Sunyshore City, where we run into a lighthouse to perform a social experiment until Faulkner decides to leave because of the sheer amount of cringe. He runs back to his gym so we can challenge him and his electric types. Faulkner leads with Raichu, and I lead with Antonio. A Charge Beam connects onto Antonio, which crits and gives Raichu a special attack boost. To make matters worse, an Earthquake doesn't even KO and leaves Raichu in the red. Thankfully, after Faulkner heals with a Hyper Potion, a combination of Earthquake and Hail can take down Raichu. Second up for Faulkner is his ace, Luxray. A Thunderfang does pretty solid damage, as an Earthquake brings Luxray into the yellow, activating its Citrus Berry. I decide to swap into Andy, who takes over half from a Thunderfang. Well, that was a bad idea, so I U-turn for some chip damage and swap into Abby, who can take a crunch fairly well. I stay in and risk a crit, as Abby survives on just 11 HP before taking down Faulkner's ace with a max power return. Third up for the final Sinnoh gym leader is Ambipom. Abby can't outspeed, so I swap back into Antonio as Ambipom sets up a free nasty plot. Antonio uses a Giga Drain to get a bit of recovery, as Ambipom boosts another stat by 2 stages, using an agility to boost its speed. A +2 Shockwave does laughably little damage, as a perfectly accurate Blizzard takes down the Andy copycat. Last up for Faulkner is everyone's favorite electric type, With a weakness to grass, a Giga Drain does about 3/4 and brings Antonio almost back up to full HP. A Bullet Seed hits 5 times and does about as much as getting hit with a wet napkin. Faulkner tries to stall by healing, but it's kinda useless as Antonio eventually finishes off Octillery, taking down Faulkner's last Pokemon. With that, we've won our 8th and final gym badge of the run, the Beacon Badge. With all 8 gym badges making up the hardest to get charm bracelet in the world, we can prepare for the Elite Four. Our 4-member team needs to be able to answer every single challenge that gets thrown at us. We make our way through Victory Road, stomp Barry one last time just to feel better about ourselves, and step up to the Elite Four. First up is Aaron and his bug types. He leads with Dustox and I lead with Antonio. A Bug Buzz does about 1/3 as a Blizzard connects for the quick KO. I was actually expecting to outspeed here based on my calcs, so I'm gonna get a little worried now. Aaron sends out Beautifly second. A resisted energy ball does very little as Antonio once again uses a perfectly accurate Blizzard for the KO. Third up is another bug flying type, Vespiquen. She meets the same fate as her teammate with matching types, as she too goes down to a single Blizzard. Fourth up is Heracross, who I can't just sweep with Blizzard. I swap into Abby as a pivot on a Stone Edge, which connects for about 1/3. Now I can swap into Andy on a safer Night Slash for less than 1/3. Technician boosted 4 times super effective Aerial Ace KOs Aaron's first good Pokemon of the battle. Last up is Aaron's ace, Drapion with the Sniper ability with a couple of high crit ratio moves. I decide to swap into Abby on a light Ice Fang. A Sniper boosted Stab Cross Poison does a ton of damage, bringing Abby to just 34 HP before her Citrus Berry, as she goes underground with Dig. An Ice Fang misses as a Dig connects, bringing Drapion into the red before a Citrus Berry. I swap back into Andy on an Ice Fang, which activates his Citrus Berry, healing him back over half. A Brick Break just misses the KO even after Hail, as a Cross Poison thankfully doesn't crit and brings Andy into the yellow. Aaron's gonna heal here, so I take the opportunity to get off a Tickle, lowering its attack and defense. On the next turn, Andy uses a U-turn for some chip damage to swap into Anthony on an Ice Fang for some light damage. At this point, a single crit could just end the run, so Anthony sets up a Reflect to lessen the damage of the non-crits. He takes an X-Scissor for some fairly small damage after the screen is up. I want a little more damage on Drapion, so I stay in and use a Charge Beam. And a Cross Poison does small damage. I can't risk another full restore, so I swap back into Abby on a Cross Poison that doesn't crit. Thankfully, a follow-up Aerial Ace doesn't crit either, giving Abby the chance to KO with a max friendship return. With that, we've won our first Elite Four battle of the run in the most stressful way possible. The second member of the Elite Four is Bertha. Her battle is always fairly easy, and this run is no different. I'm not even going to script this because A, I'm lazy, and B, Antonio just uses a bunch of Giga Drains and sweeps it all on his own, ending the battle at full HP. So we've got Quagsire, Sudowoodo, Golem, Wishcash, and Hippowdon. That's half of the Elite Four defeated. Flint is up third with his 2 fire types and some other Pokemon he found on the side of the road. He leads with Rapidash and I lead with Abby. A Flare Blitz does about 1/4, but a single Aqua Tail KOs Flint's lead in one shot. Second up is his last fire type, Infernape. A Flare Blitz brings Abby to the yellow before her Citrus Berry, and it gets the burn, which halves physical damage. Very cool. This prevents an Aqua Tail from getting a one-shot KO. A Thunder Punch brings Abby to 34 HP before a second Aqua Tail can KO, but now we've lost our chance for back-to-back sweeps. Third up is Lopunny. I swap into Andy on a Fire Punch for about 1/4. A Brick Break on the next turn brings Lopunny into the yellow as another Fire Punch leaves Andy still above half. One more finishes off Flint's other half, probably. Fourth up is Steelix. I stay in and use 2 Tickles to drop its stats, as 2 Rock Tombs does some more light damage. At -2, a Brick Break does over a half as Steelix just sets up a Sunny Day for no reason. One more Brick Break finishes off Steelix, leaving Flint with only 1 Pokemon left in the back. Drifblim comes out last. I swap to Anthony as Drifblim goes for the most cringe strategy in the book, a double team. Of course, our first Shadow Ball needs to miss, but on the bright side, Will-O-Wisp missed 2, so I can't complain. On the next turn, our Shadow Ball does connect, KOing Drifblim in one shot. With that, we've won our 3rd Elite Four battle and are only 1 battle away from the champion. The last member of the Sinnoh Elite Four is Will. I genuinely did forget his name until this part of the script, but don't worry about it. He leads with Mr. Mime, and I lead with... I meant to lead with Anthony, but I forgot to change the order. Oh well. I swap into Anthony right away as Mr. Mime sets up the wrong screen with a reflect. A Choice Specs boosted Shadow Ball is enough to KO Will's lead Pokemon. Second out is Girafarig, who I can't hit with Shadow Ball. I swap to Andy, who dodges a double hit as he comes in. A Brick Break breaks Reflect and does less than half damage, as Girafarig connects with a double hit for around the same. Andy uses a Tickle to ensure a KO next turn, as a -1 double hit does about a quarter. A fast U-turn knocks out Girafarig and gives me a free swap into Anthony. Third up for Will is Bronzong. I set up a Reflect as an Earthquake still does about a quarter. Thanks to Choice Specs though, I do need to swap, so Abby comes in on a Calm Mind. An Aqua Tail does over half as another Earthquake gets a crit and brings Abby below half HP. That's okay, since one more Aqua Tail... A Psychic brings Abby to just 10 HP as a reminder to stop using 90% accurate moves. I swap back to Anthony, who takes the Earthquake really well as Reflect wears off. A Shadow Ball does basically nothing as Bronzong sets up another Calm Mind. This is looking really bad, but the RNG gods are in love with me. So Anthony gets a critical hit Shadow Ball, KOing Bronzong before I get punished. Fourth up is Medicham, but we all saw how this matchup went at Candice's gym. A single Shadow Ball KOs Will's fourth Pokemon, leaving him with only one left, Alakazam. Mine has a bit of a level advantage thanks to the last 3 battles, so Anthony outspeeds and KOs with a single Shadow Ball. That's Will defeated, and we've taken down the Sinnoh Elite Four. But you all know what that means. There's only one battle left. We stand in front of the most infamous champion in all of Pokemon history, with a team of 4 including a f***ing Ambipom. Let's do this. She leads with Spiritomb and I lead with Abby. An Aqua Tail connects and does about 3/4 as a Silver Wind does basically nothing and thankfully doesn't get the Omni Boost. One more Aqua Tail KOs and now it's a 4v5. Second up is Roserade. Abby uses Protect to scout what move it's using and it's going to be Sludge Bomb. I swap to Anthony, but it goes for an extra sensory instead. A single Choice Specs boosted Stab super effective Psychic KOs Cynthia's second Pokemon of the battle. Third up is the monster, Garchomp. I need to get Antonio in safely for a Blizzard, so I bring in Andy to pay the ultimate price. A Dragon Rush doesn't KO on the switch, but Andy can't even get any chip off, as it outspeeds and KOs with an Earthquake. I bring in Antonio. Garchomp outspeeds and a Brick Break does over half, but a Citrus Berry recovers some of it. A perfectly accurate 4-time super effective stab critical hit Blizzard KOs Cynthia's ace in one shot, making this a 3v3. Cynthia's fourth Pokemon is Lucario. I'm expecting an Aura Sphere, so I swap into Abby to tank it for a bit less than half. A critical hit Earthquake on the next turn brings Abby into the red, but she goes underground for a dig. Since Abby is low HP, this is now a random move, since all of Lucario's moves can KO. We win that roll as a Dragon Pulse misses, and Abby can KO this furry bait monster with a dig. Fifth up for Cynthia is Gastrodon. I swap into Antonio, as the random move selector gets Sludge, which almost KOs our part grass type. But it doesn't, so on the next turn, Antonio can use a 4-time super effective Stab Giga Drain for the KO and for the recovery to almost full. The final Pokemon on the Champions team is Milotic. This thing has a Mirror Coat, which doubles special damage taken and reflects it back at the attacker, which can be kind of scary. I try to chip it down with some Ice Shards, but after it sets up an Aqua Ring, I decide it's now or never. This is where heroes are born, in crunch time. We go for a Giga Drain that does about a half as a Mirror Coat leaves Antonio with 40 HP. From there, one more Giga Drain. You fought well until the very end, soldier. Anthony leaves this world and brings Milotic down with him. A true legend. Cynthia stands in front of us, defeated, as we are crowned the champions of the Sinnoh region. And with that, guys, we have officially beaten the Pokemon Diamond Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Pokemons whose name start with the letter A. Thank you guys all so much for watching. This one was a really fun one. Doing some rough EV spreads actually kind of inspired me to start another run right in the middle of writing this. If you guys enjoyed it, press like, and if you really want to see the next one, consider subscribing. No pressure though. Engagement really helps me out since my family is actually being held hostage and the only form of payment that these guys take is YouTube likes. So guys, if you want to help my family get away from their captors, please press that like button. I've also been playing with the idea of starting a Patreon, so let me know in the comments if you guys would be interested in that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for the support and for watching. I really appreciate it all. School is coming to an end in a couple of weeks, so hopefully I'll be a little more consistent then. But with that being said, guys, I've been PomminPs, or P for short, and I'll see you when I see you.